Motivation by Jasmine, Max, and Jamie. What is motivation? Our textbook gives us an answer as to what motivation is composed of.
So the first part of motivation is the direction of effort, and the second part is the intensity of that effort. So the direction of effort is what someone is attracted to or seeks out. For example, a high school student who is a massive Lakers fan most likely want to try out for the basketball team rather than their tennis team. The second part is the intensity of effort. So this is just telling us how much of that effort will be put into the activity. For example, a student in PE might have a lower motivation rate because they just need the credits to graduate. So we can assume that their motivation will not be as high as someone who's a captain of a football team.
And since they play this important role, their motivational rate will be higher. Motivation approaches. The first approach is called the trait-centered view. This is where motivation stems from personality. This view believes that the personal makeup is how the athlete excels in the sport, and they are inclined to succeed. However, this approach is unrealistic because now we know that there are more variables involved with motivation. The next approach is called the situation-centered view. This view believes that your motivation can increase or decrease depending on the situation. So, the specific activities that we play have a big effect on the intensity of the motivation we give off. The last approach is called the interactional view. The last approach combines the trait centered and the situation centered view. This is the main one that we use today because it focuses on the person plus the situation, which gives us the motivational behavior when dealing with sport and exercise. They look into the person's personality, needs, interests, and goals, as well as the situational factors like coaching styles, etc.
Okay, so there are 5 steps or guidelines for building motivation. The first one is being able to recognize the personal and situational factors that motivate a person. Second is being able to understand why a person is doing their specific physical activity. So playing soccer, running, jogging, and even working out. Usually a person has more than one motive or multiple motives, and you need to figure out what those motives are or what that motive is so they continue to build motivation for it. Third is being able to change their minor if you need to. So meaning if you have a group of athletes that you're coaching, you need to be able to motivate all of them and not just that single person. Fourth would be as a coach, trainer, and leader, or whatever you are, being able to understand that you have an influence on the people you're training, the kids you're training. Because if you go in having a bad day and you take that to your practice, your kids are not going to be motivated to win. And then lastly, you must be able to use behavioral change methods to change a person's weak motivations to positive motivations or motives. There are 2 motives that help with participation and performance. The first one is called achievement motivation, which it's a person's orientation to strive for task success. They persist in the face of failure and have pride in their accomplishment. And the second one is competitiveness, which is a disposition to strive for satisfaction when making comparisons with some standard of excellence in the presence of evaluative others. There are some theories of achievement motivation. The first one is need achievement theory, which is basically an individual's desire to succeed and not fail in their accomplishments. This theory is typically made up of 5 factors, which are personality, situational, resultant tendencies, emotional reactions, and as well as achievements. The second theory is called attribution theory, which basically is the understanding of how a person reacts to success and failures. Third is achievement goal theory, which means when a person can switch between their ego goals and their task goals. Then lastly is competence motivation theory, which explains how a person is motivated and driven to their personal achievements. Okay, so who is Kobe Bryant? I think most of us know who Kobe Bryant is, and if you don't, here's a quick little rundown about him. He was a professional basketball player who played for the LA Lakers and was drafted straight out of high school straight into the NBA. He's a 5-time NBA champion and was inducted to the Hall of Fame in 2020, and his dream was basically to be one of the best basketball players to ever step on the court. He was very well known for that superb work ethic that he did off and on the court. He was always in the gym before anyone else and always the last one to leave. He was very mind driven and this is why he probably became one of the best basketball players.
Once upon a time, there was a young basketball player who had dreams of becoming one of the greatest basketball players of all time.
My name is Kobe Bryant. I'm 17 years old. With the hunger, the motivation, and the desire to be the best possible basketball player that I could be.
He worked day and night, every day, for years and years and years and years and years. And as time went on, 20 years had passed, and he felt that he had accomplished all that he set out to accomplish. But what he come to realize is that the goal that he set out initially of becoming the greatest of all time was a very fickle one. And what he realized that the most important thing in life is how your career moves and touches those around you and how it carries forward to the next generation. But he realized that's what makes true greatness. The story would be about transformation of a kid looking inwardly to then growing up and understanding the importance and the power is looking outward.
It's a great feeling to know that you set a goal for yourself and you were able to reach that goal and to knock it down.
If I had the power to turn back time, I would never use it. I don't think about it. Because then every moment that you go through means absolutely nothing, but you can always go back and do it again. So it loses its flavor, it loses its beauty. When things are final and you know moments won't ever come again. To be able to have the power to go back and re-experience those things it's silly to me.
When you take that jersey off for the final time, how do you think you're gonna feel?
Very at peace with it, and I'm very thankful, for the 20 years that I've had, and ready to go.
Did Kobe Bryant understand the psychology of motivation? We can argue that yes, he did. Probably without even knowing it, he understood what achievement motivation was and competitiveness. He had all those things. Kobe Bryant understood what motivation was in general. He was able to use this to motivate not just himself, but his teammates, future basketball players in the game today, and even the people all around the world.
So our discussion question is, if motivation is a strength built from within, how does an athlete remain positive and not allow the pressures of competitive sports make it a negative experience?